All right, welcome back to Reflections, everyone, where we talk about all things Church of Christ with the Elijah Message. It is wonderful to be back with you, spending this time together. So we're looking at the relationship of Jesus as fully human and fully divine, and our participation in that. And we're looking at the first gospel we say that is written, the Gospel of Mark. And we're looking at how in the Gospel of Mark, Jesus is God. Jesus is divine. So let's pick up chapter 9. So Mark's Gospel, chapter 9, and we're going to be picking up in verse 2. And after 6 days, Jesus taketh with him Peter and James and John, and leadeth them up into a high mountain apart by themselves. And he was transfigured before them, and his raiment became shining, exceedingly white as snow, so as no fuller on earth can white them. And there appeared unto them Elijah with Moses, and they were talking with Jesus. And they were, Moses and Elijah, those are the two people in the Old Testament that went up a mountain to commune with God. And so here they are with Jesus. And the question is, why? Because Jesus is God. And they were on top of the mountain, like Elijah and Moses, communing with God. And Peter answered and said unto Jesus, Master, it is good for us to be here. And let us make 3 tabernacles. One for thee, and one for Moses, and one for Elijah. You know, the tabernacle was where the presence of God was during the Exodus. You know, before the presence of God rested in the Holy of Holies in the temple. And so they weren't at the temple. So they're like, let's make tabernacles. Let's make these dwellings of God. 3 of them. For he didn't know, he wist not what to say, because they were sore afraid. And there was a cloud that overshadowed them, and a voice came out of the cloud, saying, This is my beloved Son, hear him. And suddenly, when they had looked round about, they saw no man any more, save Jesus only with themselves. So they saw Jesus in beautiful light. And they're like, with Moses and Elijah, and like, let's make these dwellings of God. And who was left? Jesus is. Because Jesus is God. Let's go to chapter 14. Chapter 14. I'm going to pick up here in verse 60. And this is during the arrest of Jesus. And the high priest stood up in the midst and asked Jesus, saying, Answerest thou nothing? What is it with these witnesses against thee? But he held his peace and answered nothing, the silent suffering servant. Opened not his mouth. Again the high priest asked him and said unto him, Art thou the Christ, the Son of the Blessed? And Jesus said, I am. And ye shall see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power, and coming in the clouds of heaven. Then the high priest rent his clothes, and saith, What need any further witness? Ye have heard the blasphemy. What think ye? And they all condemned him to be guilty of death. You've heard the blasphemy. What did he say? Jesus just called himself God. So back to verse 62. And Jesus said, I am. That's the revelation of the meaning of the God's name in Israel. In Exodus 3, I am who I am. And you shall see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power and coming in the clouds of heaven. So there's a lot going on here. So we have this allusion here to Daniel chapter 7, Jesus as the Son of Man. So let's go to Daniel chapter 7. Verse 13 here. I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, just as Jesus said, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. So in Judaism, Christianity, the Ancient of Days refers to God. But in the Elijah message tradition, the Ancient of Days can refer to John the Baptist, as we have in the messages. And there was given to him dominion and glory and a kingdom that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away. What is the only dominion that does not pass away? God. In his kingdom that shall not be destroyed. Who's the only kingdom, the only king that will not be destroyed or cannot be destroyed? God. And God's kingdom of heaven. And the idea of the cloud is really important as well here, because Jesus said you will see him in the right hand of power. You know, the divinity coming in the clouds. Let's go to the book of Exodus. Let's pick up here in Exodus chapter 13. The Israelites are in the wilderness. Verse 21. And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light to go by day and night. He took not any way the pillar of the cloud by day, nor the pillar of fire by night from before the people. So God leads in the cloud. Let's go to chapter 24 in the book of Exodus. Pick up here in verse 15. And Moses went up into the mountain. This is Mount Sinai. And a cloud covered the mountain. And the glory of the Lord abode upon Mount Sinai. And the cloud covered it 6 days. And the seventh day he called unto Moses out of the midst of the cloud. And the sight of the cloud of the Lord was like devouring fire on top of the mountain in the eyes of the children of Israel. And Moses went into the midst of the cloud and got him up into the mountain, and Moses was in the mount 40 days and 40 nights. Let's go to Exodus chapter 40. In verse 34. Then a cloud covered the tent of the congregation, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. That's the traveling presence of God, where God dwelt. Before God dwelt in the temple in the Holy of Holies. And Moses was not able to enter the tent of the congregation because the cloud abode there. And the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. And when the cloud was taken up from over the tabernacle, the children of Israel went onward on their journey. But if the cloud were not taken up, then they journeyed not till the day that it was taken up. For the cloud of the Lord was upon the tabernacle by day, and the fire was on it by night, in the sight of all the house of Israel throughout all their journeys. In the cloud, God dwells in the cloud, and Jesus dwells in the cloud, and the Holy Spirit dwells in the cloud. You know, in Luke's gospel, you know, Mary's, and how am I going to be with child and I'm a virgin? And the angel Gabriel said, the Lord is going to overshadow you. The overshadowing you, that's the cloud. that God dwells in these stories is really fascinating. It's a really just wonderful, interesting idea. My brothers and sisters, it's been wonderful spending this time with you, thinking about these things, reflecting on them, sharing ideas. Until next time, I invite you into the Elijah Message House.